Okay, welcome back. I'm preparing now to take off the massive amounts of excess here before we begin actual shaping of the stem. And something that I found that's important, and that is to do the profile first, meaning side view, and then narrow it if necessary, and it virtually always is. So here is some, put the pipe in a little vise just to make it easier to do for the camera. There we go. And you can see the slot showing through the tape there. And it's so when you begin to cut large quantities, whether you do it with a file or with a rotary rasp or a sanding block with some really coarse stuff, a French wheel, whatever method you use, I think it's very helpful. In fact, it might save your butt from time to time. Why is this thing not focusing? There we go. To get the profile correct from the side, or close to, and then worry about narrowing it as a second step. And I'll just leave it at that. There's technical reasons for it, but I don't want these videos just to turn into like a audio tape lecture. I want to show you more stuff. So anyway, you know that the thing is aligned because the tape's running all the way down the shank. And so we're centered. This protects the airway. It keeps us from both developing any kind of a spiral twist as we work on this. It also, if we don't cut into the tape, it's impossible to cut into the airway. So that's it. This is the first prep step. I'm now going to go over to a machine I have that's called a King. It's a knife grinder. It's kind of like a rotary bench grinder and a belt type sander had a baby, and it's a little bit of each. It's sort of exotic equipment. It's a knife grinder, the people who make Bowie knives and stuff like that. And not too many pipe guys have one, so I won't bore you with going through all of that. It's highly unlikely that you would have such a machine. So again, whatever tool you decide to use here is good if you end up with what I'll show you here in just a minute. So that's it. Back in a minute. Okay, back from the King. Now, this stem is small enough and short enough that you, those who have watched me do this before, make stems before, know that I like to leave a circular knob on the end of the stem as a, like when I'm making a long stem or something, it gives you a more convenient way to control by rolling, since you have a round cross section. This is too short for that to be of any use. In fact, it would probably be a problem. So I've not done it this time, and I don't need to worry about enough material for a button. The tape that I used is 1/4 of an inch in width, and an average button height is about 1/4 of an inch, 25 to 27, in that range. So this is also at an angle, so behind that point it's actually probably around 30 or so right now. So plenty of meat there for the button. And we're now going to cut the sides down to the proper width, and then take the notch out, so to speak, behind the button. We'll steepen the angle of the slope here a little bit, and it'll leave a ridge across there. And as I was doing this last step here, the previous step, it occurred to me that possibly after doing all this stuff on camera with these power tools and stuff, that it may be more valuable for an average repairman working out of an apartment or a garage or something with limited tools. What's important to you is not the tools that I use in every case or how I use them, but rather the end result after each step, because the steps themselves are important as well as their sequence. And that if you take whatever tools you have at hand and can end up at the same point, then we're good. So I think we'll try that on this one, see how it goes. So from a round chunk of rubber with a tenon on it, we now have a slightly tapered blade-like shape that's wider than the shank. So now I'm going to take it down. Now remember, we've got the old one here to use as a pattern. There is a very small amount of taper this way. It gets a little bit smaller toward the button, but let's not get too close to the final dimensions when making large material removal steps here. So let's just keep it parallel for now. We'll tune the shape by hand later. So that is it. I'll go do that and come right back.